Hey everybody. I don't know where the
Intro.
the intro is. So it's just the two of us right now. Uh, but cool. How you doing, Mike? How are things?
Doing okay. Doing all right. All things considered, it is really hot.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is very,
What,
very hot.
what's the weather like in Jersey? Just hot? Got any
It,
rain?
yeah, it has been raining off and on today, but it's still like humid as all hell. So it's just I'm not a peak summer person. Let's say like
Sure, sure.
getting into it in fall and spring, I'm all good. But like peak summer, peak winter, forget it.
Yeah. I'm a transitional season guy. Fall and spring are my favorites, and then when we get to the extremes, it gets real obnoxious. Let's talk about kind of the big news of probably the cast, the Video
But
Game
no,
History
no, no,
Foundation.
no, no. Let's
No,
talk about weather. Let's talk about weather for the
yeah,
rest of it because there's
yeah.
nothing else to talk.
But yeah. Uh, Also, side note, there's a cool Video Game History Foundation article around kind of game availability. I know we've talked about that in the past around just having access to games. Um, So it's like a whole 40-page study around different just hey, does this game still exist? Is it print form somewhere that someone could play it if they want to? And it's not looking good for our Commodore 64s. There's low interest, low activity. It's in rough shape.
You don't say. What?
um, yeah, but we can jump into that in a little bit. But I think the primary focus of today's conversation should be the strike, and I think you're probably more in the know than I am. So do you want to tell the folks at least about what's going on and how that could impact their lives and viewing entertainment?
Well, I mean, it's strike city because the writers, the WGA has been on strike for man a couple of months now, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a couple months, and so the SAG AFTRA has their own, and SAG, for those who don't know, Screen Actors Guild. They have their own kind of qualms with the studios and how they're compensated, especially when it comes to residuals in the streaming, environment. You have a lot of like big names actually coming out and talking about basically how they've been gypped out of their residuals because of the way streaming is set up and how,
Oh,
it's a completely separate kind of deal or entity from what they'd usually get in terms of royalties, like say on physical media releases
sure.
or syndicated packages, broadcasts and things like that. Like Sean Gunn came out talking about like Gilmore Girls, how it's
Oh
been like this
man.
huge thing, especially since Netflix acquired it and brought
I
it
say he
back.
should be getting paid from Netflix. I remember like that was a big thing. That was a
Peanuts
big deal.
apparently got
Yeah.
peanuts for it, especially since it's been when Netflix was first like getting into streaming. That was like one of their big like oomph proponents was, hey, we're bringing back Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Um, and then you've had, the thing is like I know a lot of people will probably be like, oh, well, the millionaires they won't be quite so millionaire-ish anymore or something. But the thing is like SAG is not just like celebrities. It's not just like your A-list, actors, your Harrison Fords or your Michelle Pfeiffers or whoever. It's I don't know. I went with older generation there because they've probably been around for a long time. But also,
Yeah.
there's like hardworking like people scrounging day by day in SAG. Like I've been an extra on movie sets, and you have your regular extras who are hired on like Craigslist or through an agency of some kind that isn't unionized, and then you have your SAG extras. You have your SAG featured background artists, like the people who have like one line of dialogue in a movie, but that line of dialogue, guess what? It gives you some
Yeah.
money if the
Yeah.
more people who see it and purchase tickets to see it or purchase physical media releases to see it or rent it. Like it's still something. And so absolutely, like I feel right now with SAG striking and with production shutting down, like absolutely this is the perfect time for this for creative people and hardworking talented people to get their due and proper from studios who in the past week or so haven't been, let's say, too veiled about
Hmm. Hmm.
how they really feel about
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a couple of releases from unnamed executives, but they can name their salary, which narrows it down quite a bit.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and they've been saying some pretty tone deaf things in light of these strikes, and saying like we'll wait out these people essentially until they have to pay for their health care or they have to foreclose on their houses or apartments and what have you. And I'm like, that's a really shitty thing to say and do. That's a
Yeah.
really shitty tactic.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of I mean, I think every strike in history, right? Like the people that have the most money that can wait it out. I mean, it's generally not good for the folks that are on the strike. Like unless you have some type of leverage that you truly can, not to be redundant, but leverage to
Yeah.
like protect your job and or keep your like money rolling in. Like right now, there is what is a low number of electricians and plumbers. I imagine those unions are probably doing great. They're probably like, hey, you need us more than we need you at the moment,
Yeah.
so we're
It's
gonna take advantage. Yeah.
it's an essential service for a particular industry.
Mhm.
And, this industry won't last long without that particular service in motion and being properly compensated for their work. And a lot of people have been like, well, maybe now stuff won't be so shit. Because I've been seeing a lot of like, not devil's advocate stuff, but more like, oh, here's how can we reframe it to be like, these people suck or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like people have been saying like, well, the quality writing or the quality acting and stuff hasn't been great the past few years. Anyway, I'm just like, guess what then? You're not going to get anything. Because it's not like, oh, it's only the people who you think are bad writers or the people you think are bad actors are the ones who are no longer going to be doing the work because they're on strike. It's everybody. I think that that's something that people fail to grasp, is that regardless of the quality of the work, you should still get paid and compensated for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
to some fair degree. Now, yeah, if you consistently crank out shows that aren't well received or
You should
anything
be
like that,
working. That's suss itself out, right? If you're not delivering what the thing is, then
they
you'll
find
find
another avenue or
yeah.
another venue. It's not up to studios to just be like, no, we'll treat everybody like crap.
Mhm.
And they'll have to just work twice as hard now to impress us, when honestly studio execs are the most tone deaf, people on the planet. And, the advent of AI looming, and the fact, did you hear that one article about basically there were these actors on, it was a Snowpiercer show.
Oh, cool.
They were mandated to go in and have their bodies scanned into a computer so that they could create like digital background actors.
Yeah.
But what they didn't realize now is apparently the studio now owns those likenesses and can utilize them whenever they want without their consent, or that's what they kind of were hoping to do until people were wising up to it. I don't know if they're still gonna.
Yeah, you throw a mustache on, it's a new human now, and like they own that generic human. Not to say they're generic, but yeah.
So that's like that's looming on the horizon now, and AI in general still certainly has a way to go, but it doesn't stop them from putting it into effect and covering their asses down the line.
Yeah.
There's actually this really good 2013 movie called The Congress. I don't know if I've talked about it on here before.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It stars Robin Wright as a version of herself, where she basically isn't getting many acting gigs and later in her life because it's the trope of like she's past 30 or whatever, she's not a hot talent anymore. So she signs away her likeness to be digitally scanned and replicated in CGI to a studio. And then it gets into some wacky territory later on because it's also science fiction. But the most realistic thing about it is that like 20 years later, she's like, driving and she sees like ads for herself in these action movies going on. And she doesn't get a cent of it because her deal was only for a fixed amount instead of in perpetuity, until she dies or, what have you. So it's frighteningly close to what we're dealing with now. I'm amazed.
And your AI conversation reminded me of some news I had just heard recently. Like IBM paused hiring for 8,000 jobs in May that think they can replace those jobs with AI things. Like so, like this is gonna be a disruptor across. I mean, everyone knows it, right? It's gonna be a disruptor across almost every industry. So it's unfortunate that it's starting to hit some of the creative spaces much sooner than I think anybody anticipated. But.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, it sucks. You're not going to have your favorite shows or the movies you're anticipating coming out, probably on time at this point, but I'm just like, you know what? That's why you gotta probably take some action if you do want them to come back in a timely manner. Is help
Yeah.
help these workers get what's owed to them,
Right.
which is why I've got that little thing down there, the entertainmentcommunity.org, which is, I know Jason sent out some links. I had sent out some links where you can donate whatever you want. It will go towards these people who are on the picket line right now and, can't work.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally the only leverage they have, right? We have to suffer and be annoying to the corporations for them to, you know what I mean? For them to get what they're owed or deserve.
Yeah. Which is fine, because I've been insufferable and annoying towards studios and corporations for years now. So
yeah, you've been railing against the mouse for a while.
I did, and Jason did bring up a good point where in our chats was saying, like, someone actually brought a point, like, here's why you shouldn't cancel your subscriptions, because the data will reflect, like, oh, they'll twist the narrative to say, like, well, they're dropping our services as a streaming service, not in solidarity, but because the product's not good, so why should we hire? It'll justify them not, giving them better deals, which I totally get. I still canceled my Hulu just because Hulu's useless to me. I don't even watch it anymore.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah,
why should I pay? Yeah.
It makes total sense.
So I'm as cut off from Disney as I possibly can be.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. Any other calls to the strike? I mean, it's always very interesting. I'm hoping all parties are happy and healthy and content here shortly, but I doubt it'll be a while before we get to that point, I think.
No, it's like, no, the studios need to stop dragging their heels on this. Like, be humans. Come to the table with reasonable requests met from these people. They're not asking for a lot. Like, Adam Conover posted a video earlier today or yesterday talking about, like, they're not asking for a lot, and these execs spend more on golf getaways with each other than they do than they do on what it would take to actually compensate the workers. So it's like,
that makes sense. Okay. Well, I did want to talk about some more, because I think there's some facts that I think will interest. Will interest you. Going back to that Video Game History Foundation article, right? They have some quick facts in the article that I thought you might find interesting. So 87% of classic games are not in release or considered critically endangered. I didn't realize we had endangered species lists for video games, but I mean, like, it's fun that that's kind of a term. But I mean, I guess let me find out what they consider classic. Is
it a case of just classic or rarities, wherein, like, you just can't find models of?
Let me find out.
You just can't have you don't have the units out in circulation anymore.
Yeah. Is it all right? I'm not trying to find the. No, it's fine. I'll give you some more. If it was across every platform, time period, tracked in the study, libraries and archives can digitally preserve but not digitally share video games and can provide an on-premises access only. Libraries and archives are allowed to digitally share other media types such as books, films, and audio, and are not restricted to on-premises access. The Entertainment Software Association, the video game industry's lobbying group, has consistently fought against expanding video game preservation within libraries and archives. Okay, so it sounds like everything, big corporations are trying to kill the preservation of video games, or at least the sharing of preserved video games.
Well, is that also fall under, say, licensing issues as well? Because I know there's a lot of discontinued games that used to just be available, like, say, in online arcade and so forth, and just because the license, expired on them, and or properties exchange hands all the times in terms of IP. So it's like, I'm also wondering if that's also a big factor in it too. Is just no one knows what to do with these license issues anymore, or they don't want to pay for them anymore. So that's why they disappear.
Right. Okay, and classical games are considered 1960 through 2009.
Okay, that's a big gap.
Yeah, is the availability rate of historical games by period between 1960 and 2009. So that they have it in ranges of 25 years. Oh no, it's different. 4 years. Increments of 4 years. Between 1975 really to 2009 is the date range. But I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. We talked about it last week around just our loss of access, right? If Steam goes away, I don't have any way of playing any of the things I bought, and Steam has a lot of my money. Same
Yeah.
with any of the digital downloaded movies or anything like that. But
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for now, it's holding that it's once you purchase, it's with you forever. But it's like so forever how long the service lasts, or however long their policy
right.
on that stuff lasts too. It's like, yeah, I had some stuff on my old Xbox 360, like classic arcade stuff that was available, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was gone one day just because you know they no longer had a reason to hang on to it. Like, I'm kind of wondering if
Minus one. Sorry.
I have no idea what that is.
Let's find out. Let's take a look. Maybe.
I have no idea what that is. It
Yeah.
sounds like a
I mean,
Godzilla.
I like everything Godzilla.
Yeah, so
I mean, there is definitely a trailer, so let's check it out. Maybe.
it's already done then.
I don't. It sounds like it.
All right,
All right. Can you see my? Yeah.
I can see you.
Oh. All right. I'm already excited, Francis.
ゴジマイナス
Oh, okay. It's like a Japanese full on Japanese production. Then that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. That sounds cool.
I liked what was it, Shin Godzilla, the one that
Yeah.
came out in 2016. That was also just back to the Japanese roots of it. Like I really like that movie. It kind of looks like that's a more action-packed version of that movie from just that brief look. But again, that was like 20 seconds. So.
Yeah, I want to see more Godzilla because he looked like real scaly. You know what I mean? It looked like unless it was all just debris. I don't know.
No, looks fun.
Yeah, I'm in it. I'm into it.
I'll find it somehow.
So I was perusing NPR, and they had an interesting topic, and I didn't get a chance to actually listen to their podcast on it, but the topic was cool. What makes something so bad it's good? So they're referencing like The Room or the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, what in your opinion, Mike, and it doesn't have to be necessarily movies, but like, what do you think quantifies that? Now, I didn't prep you for this. Like, this is a question kind of out of thin air, so hopefully it's not too off this side.
I kind of have an answer for it anyways, because it's my go-to philosophy about so bad it's good stuff, because I'll come on here and defend a lot of like stuff that I know objectively isn't the peak of either cinema or writing or what have you, but I feel like sincerity in the effort is a big factor in so bad it's good, wherein like you have something you mentioned The Room, so that's basically a big ego trip for Tommy Wiseau. He produced it, he directed it, starred in it, wrote it, had to have all manner of production, under his control. But he was also like really passionate. It was ego, but it was also like his passion and drive to want to tell this story, whether it needed to be told or not. That's what really drove it. So you see a lot of that shine through in the production, even if the performances are terrible, even if he wanted to film on a set, even though he could easily have filmed most of that stuff in apartments and on a street. He had sets built for that specific purpose. Even if the writing isn't great, but everyone is so committed to delivering those lines as sincerely as they can. Like, that plays into a lot of the so bad it's good enjoyment, where you're like, this is awful, but my God, are they trying? That is a big thing for me when it comes to so bad it's good films, at least. It's a little bit dicier with, say, something like a book. I
was about to say, like, I feel like that the premise kind of loses it when you're in the writing or the reading of something, because like if something doesn't catch my interest in the first couple of chapters, I'm out. Like, I don't. That's
in terms of the book, in terms of like something like books or comic books or things like that, it is almost not an inverse, but the point where, say, the premise is just so so outlandish or so hard to swallow, but you're still curious enough to follow along with it. Like, I'd say you could maybe attest that to why people love. I mean, there are people I'm sure really seriously enjoy early '90s Image comics. You know,
Oh yeah,
to this day,
for sure.
like there's a certain point when you were younger and you're either a preteen or a teen where you're like, oh, Youngblood is awesome. You know, like early Spawn and Rob Liefeld can't draw feet and stuff like that. All that stuff's awesome. And you're able to kind of like look at it in that regard. And now I look back on some of the early Image stuff that I still own, and I'm like, what kind of kid were you? But I chuckle at it at least. Like I recognize the value of it for me earlier on, but I'm able to objectively say like, this isn't the best. This isn't really that great.
Right.
Like I like early Spawn a lot. I like the premise of it a lot, but a lot of that early stuff, it's a lot of try hard. Let's gross everyone out. And some of it works, some of it very rarely doesn't. But I appreciate it nonetheless.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. 1 sec, someone's knocking on my door. Be right back.
No problem. I can harp on and on about So Bad It's Good if you want. But yeah, so bad it's good. You know what else can be so bad it's good? A television show that's on a streaming service. But regardless, you should still compensate those workers, even if their stuff is so bad it's good. Like Altered Carbon on Netflix.
I liked Altered Carbon.
Yeah. I thought it was so bad, but it swung for the fences at least.
It definitely tried. It tried.
Yeah, it tried. So those people, they earn their paycheck, and they should have earned then some. So, but yeah.
So here's another topic. What do you think people should be watching or listening to or reading, or like, do you have any like suggestions for folks now that all of their shows are going to be probably put on hold? Any of the new stuff? Like, is there like old catalog things you would suggest, or books, or?
Well, I mean, honestly, with the mentality of like, you know what, streaming services are sort of the bad guys, one of the bad guys in this whole back and forth right now, but they still can serve some kind of function and purpose. Like, catch up on shows you've been meaning to catch up on at this point. You know, there won't be new material, but certainly there's plethora of archive stuff. Go out and buy some cheap physical media for yourself. You know?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's what I go around to like thrift stores and places all the time just to see like what weird, obscure kind of like DVDs or Blu-rays they have. That's how I found quite a bit of my library here is just through scrounging around for stuff that no one else would look for. That's how I found. God, well, you go ahead. I've been talking this whole time. It's like you go ahead. I'll find some stuff.
Well, no, I think. I think reading is always my best friend for a lot of things when I don't have anything else to do. I like to do. I really have enjoyed Stephen King's fairy tales. I'm not much of a Stephen King guy, but like the world he built in that book is something I've really enjoyed. I think I talked about in the past. But like if you played Elden Ring, it feels like it's a fairy tale Elden Ring. Like in terms of it feels like Stephen King played Elden Ring 6 months prior to writing the book, and then wrote the book, and I was like, hey, we're gonna have the same similar universe.
Actually, you know what I sometimes do when I don't have anything to focus on in terms of like new media and stuff is like, I'll revisit old stuff as well in terms of reading. Like I was rereading this little novel I had called The Tomb, which is basically it's paranormal investigation fantasy type of stuff.
Oh, that's my favorite kind of. I really do enjoy like paranormal, like those types of stories are a lot of fun. I'll have to check that out for sure. Yeah,
it's a whole series. It's a whole series of books centered around a central character. It was adapted into one film in the '80s, but nothing ever came of it. But no, I've been revisiting that stuff, doing some artwork and things like that. It's always good to do artwork.
Yeah. Do you want to showcase it? Do you want to show it off?
I don't have anything right now. No, it's all up on the wall, so I can't move it.
Fair enough. Have you played any of the new Zelda? I don't have a Switch, or I would have tried it. But have you played any of it? No.
Nah, new Zelda has never really been my thing too much.
No.
I got into Wind Waker like when it first came out years ago, but that was the epitome of my Zelda engagement. Link to the Past and Wind Waker were my two big Zelda experiences. I've honestly never really been much of a Nintendo person.
Interesting.
I had Super Nintendo when I was younger, and so I played a lot of stuff off of there. Then when I got older, I either went to the route of like short-lived systems like the Dreamcast, or just didn't care at all. Had a GameCube for a while, but didn't play a lot of stuff on there. So
that makes sense. Nintendo has been such I've never had a lot of cash to throw at video games my whole life until probably as an adult now. I probably could do it for the most part, whatever I want to do video game wise. But it's just such a barrier to entry. Like there's no discounts ever. There was nothing like if I bought a PlayStation or an Xbox, I could get like a bunch of cheap games and like be happy for like months. Nintendo was always like, well, if I buy this one game and then I have to pay full price for the next game because like discounts are few and far between. So like, I don't know. They make really good stuff in my opinion, but it's just a matter of like you're paying for it. I mean, deservedly so. So
the stuff I played, back in the day and so forth, it's engaging, it's entertaining, but I just never. Also, I always felt like Nintendo, its core focus in terms of audience has always skewed younger.
That's
even
fair.
as you get older and stuff, like it just lost its sheen for me. Like when you're a kid, I love Mario, I love Zelda and all that stuff, and
just lean too hard to that side of the house for you.
Yeah,
sure.
But then I get into like quieter, murkier type games like Last of Us and things like that. So I gear more towards mature themed stuff. That doesn't always make me feel happy-go-lucky at the end of the day. but that's just me. So
I mean, that's totally fair.
I'll completely just like, see, because I was saying earlier this morning, like I reinstalled Avengers out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And that game is dead. And I find that now that's so bad it's good for me.
Yeah. Sure.
Because that game is broken to its core, but my God, is it gloriously broken. And I kind of love the whole, fuck it, we gave up. Sorry, watch your profanity.
I was not on my game. It's okay. Appreciate it.
Like they're not making any more content for it, but they're keeping it open and stuff for like live services and things. But they've just given up. Like everything else, all the cosmetic stuff was behind a paywall and thing. You had to basically buy in to get new skins or certain power ups and things like that. And now it's just I installed it earlier this morning. Started the game. I'm like, okay, I know there's going to be a huge marketplace thing right at the front of the game. No marketplace. I'm like, okay. Go into my character selection. They have all the cosmetic stuff now just there for free. And I'm just like, oh, cool. They just installed all that stuff for me. They really have given up on this game. Cool.
That's okay. Real fast. You're a giant Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Have you seen this experience thing, TMNT experience?
No, I have not.
Here, I'm going to show you a link in the.
I just proved how lax I am on my fandom.
That's okay. That's all right. But it's in New York and LA, and it's the Teenage Mutant Turtles New Experience is a free, family-friendly, immersive experience that invites guests to explore the Turtles' underground home. See what its life is like. Set their lair and train with your favorite heroes before the epic film comes to theaters on August 2nd. So it's like a pop-up event for the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to say, so this is going to be like a sort of like a fun house type mentality.
I think so. But it might be fun to go check out. I mean, you're in Jersey, so it's not like that much of a stretch for you to go to the New York one, I don't think.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, thanks. Thanks for thinking of me on that. But it's kind of like, this 140-year-old dude wandering through.
Listen, Mike, you'd have a great time. Just say it's for your podcast. It'd be great.
That is true. That would be.
That's what I'm saying. It's for work.
Podcast. This work that I haven't done since March.
Mike,
I'll be honest.
I'm giving you an out.
I'm just being honest with you. Like in terms of the amount of stuff I crank out in terms of podcasts or films or things like that, like I have these huge surges of creativity and determination. Like I'll crank out like 5 episodes of a podcast within like the span of a month. Or I'll crank out like 2 short films or a couple of shorts or like a video, several video logs or podcasts. And great. But then I take huge chunks of time in between where I'm like 2 or 3 months, I just go radio silent except for this podcast.
Sure. And we
Like
appreciate you for it.
I still have a podcast I have to put out there, which has me and Max talking about Batman that was supposed to be out before the Flash movie came out, and I still haven't gotten around to releasing it yet, just because I don't know, I'm just so lazy in terms of that regard.
You're not lazy. You're living your life. You're living your life.
Yeah, I'm busy. I got other stuff going on too, so it's like. But eventually. But you know what? That could be interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Just grab some people and be like, "Hey, we might be the lowest people here, but we're going." Were you ever a Walking Dead guy? Did you like Walking Dead?
For the first 2 episodes.
Oh, okay. Well, I bring that up because I guess Daryl Dixon's getting the spinoff and it's coming out in September. I think they're too late. I think it's way too late. Yeah,
that's the Boondock Saints dude, right?
Yeah. Yep. That dude is making so much money off of the Walking Dead that I don't blame him at all for doing it. But I think that ship has sailed unless I'm totally off base. But
has he done anything else outside of The Walking Dead since it started?
I don't know. Let's look.
Yeah, because all I know him for is I know.
Well, he was the voice actor in that video game, right?
Was it Death Stranding or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, so he did that.
He was the walking simulator.
I just know. Is that what it basically is?
I think so. That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
I just know him as that guy from The Walking Dead with the South Georgia accent, or he was in Blade and the Boondock Saints, and that's all I know him from.
It looks like he's been doing stuff, but nothing super crazy.
Well, I mean,
a lot of voice actor stuff. It looks like.
I mean, good on him. Hope he gets paid
whatever.
for it. Whenever they're supposed to start production on that.
Yeah.
If they start production on that, I hope he gets properly paid for it.
Man, to be honest, he's not really in. To your point, it's 2018, then 2024.
He's on the most successful show on AMC.
100%. Everything's been Walking Dead for like a decade, which I would be doing the same thing.
I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, in terms of steady work, residuals, again, another thing. So.
Yeah. Hopefully he's making buku bucks off of The Walking Dead. Trying to think of other fun topics.
Just filling up the time at this point.
Well, we can end it too, but I'm just trying to see what if there's anything else worthwhile to talk to you about. Are you a Diablo 4 guy? Do you like Diablo?
No, but I've heard that Diablo 4 is really good. I've heard that even like people who have never played Diablo before are really getting into it.
Nice. Well, it sounds like it's trying to go back to Diablo 2, which was my favorite Diablo. Diablo 3 was fun because I played it with some friends, but Diablo 2, I played. Oh man, that was back when I was on dial-up, and I would kill our phone line. And my parents were like, "We're trying to make phone calls. Like, not tonight. You're not."
Nope.
Not tonight.
Picked the wrong time.
Parents. Yeah. Sorry, you pay for this phone line, but it's mine now.
Nah, I never got into. But that also is like, that's a RPG like grind, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but you max out your level real quick. The real grind in Diablo, unless it's changed, is like item hunting, which is I think it's a lot of RPG stuff. Okay. Like it's like you're just trying to get the coolest stuff. And like the thematics in Diablo are fun. What?
Raising levels doesn't take like your entire
game. It's closer to Warcraft in that regard. It's like, hey, you're going to get to level, I don't know what the cap is, 60 in a reasonable amount of time, but you're not going to get the coolest set of armor. You're not going to get the coolest weapon. Like that's going to be really what the grind is for.
Yeah, you max out your levels so that way you can get to the cool stuff then.
And what's also interesting is kind of mixing and matching your skills and like try to optimize that. Like now with the internet, you can figure it out pretty quick. But like, I know back in Diablo 2, you were just like, I think this stuff goes together and praying. And then someone that actually has it figured out just wrecks you in PvP. But it was fun. It was a good time.
See, that's always been the deflating part of me when it comes to like games like that is sure I'll do great on like whatever that main solo campaign that the game has set up because it's designed for you to be able to succeed through it. But then once you get into something like PvP or something, I'm just like, oh, why even bother? I suck at this.
Yeah, that was. Oh, have I ever told you that NBA 2K? It might have been 18 or 19 story.
No.
So I was playing Xbox. I had the newest at the time, the newest NBA 2K game. And I said, well, I'm really good at the career modes. Let me jump over to like the park, which is kind of you versus actual humans. Mike, when I tell you I was bad, that was probably an overstatement in terms of like I was so bad that I would assume some kid, because only a kid would do this, walked around when you're in the park mode, after you get done with your game, you can walk around and like all the other people on your server are still kind of milling about waiting for a game to start.
Yeah.
He had this emoji where it's like if you farted in an elevator, like what do you do with the hand motion?
He just spammed you.
Like he spammed it and followed me around, and it wasn't like for a brief moment. It like he went out of his way to be like, "Hey, dude, you are bad, and I'm gonna tell everybody that's around you that you suck." Man. And I laughed because I was like 23, 24. I don't know.
Sure.
It was so funny to me. I was like, "You're right. I wasn't good."
See,
but oh man, it was funny.
That's the thing. Like, online player, especially like massive multiplayer, type things like that. They came around the right age for me because I don't think I would have been able to handle that if I was like 10 years old.
Oh yeah, that'd be brutal.
I would have cried.
Yeah.
I would have been miserable if someone did that to me if I was on an online game back when I was younger.
Oh,
now that I'm older, like I think the last thing I actually did like fully online, what was it, like DC Universe Online, whatever that was.
Yeah.
And no one does anything in there except like if you're a speedster, and which I was. So all you do is run around the city a lot and like annoy.
That's really a great time.
Yeah, that's all I did. Like I never did campaigns after I reached.
Who cares? Yeah.
I'm like, who cares? I don't want to pay for that. I'm just gonna hang out here. And before that, what was it, Jedi Academy or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Where they did have online spaces. You could actually like join guilds. And we had, everyone had their own different like forums and websites to go to, and you had to figure out how to change like your name's color to be associated with a certain guild.
Yeah.
I like that stuff, and people were pretty civil and nice on there.
Yeah.
Some of them might have been there with predation on the mind, but who knows?
So it reminds me of a game called Atlas. It's from the same people that made the game Ark. If you're familiar with Ark, it's the dinosaur like.
Yeah. You punch wood to survive.
You sure do.
That's as far as I got. I owned that game for like a week and a half, and then I'm like, I suck at this. I can't.
You talking about Ark or Atlas? Which one? Ark.
Ark. I punched wood. A dinosaur would come up and maul me immediately. I'd have to start over again. I'm like, I'm malnourished. I'm freezing to death. I can't survive in this game. I'm selling it. So
yeah, that was my experience in Ark too. Because I got on a server that was either too full or I joined at the wrong time. Because every base I built, people would come and just take all of my stuff. Like everything I did, it was just like, what do I do?
I mean, for the most part, I was ignored because I couldn't even get like a fire going. So people were like, "This guy's got nothing." I could see people like in the distance. They look at me and then they just walk past. Be like, that guy's struggling. Let him be.
Yeah, Atlas. I have like maybe 120 hours in that game, and all I did in that game because I joined a clan because my friend, who is a streamer on Twitch, she is in the clan. She invited me over, which was great. I had a lot of fun. All I did was jump on their ships and just be obnoxious. And they loved it. I loved it. Like, I did nothing in that game in terms of what the actual game was. Any boon I got was because I was in the party associated with. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was going out of the way. Like, after 120 some odd hours, you'd think I'd have some cool fleet or some cool... Like, I had the barest bone ship, and I was just jumping on these giant galleons and just, like... causing mayhem. It was the best. It was like, I mean, I don't know.
Did you get kicked out eventually, or was
no? They loved it. No. I was doing funny stuff that they also thought was funny. It wasn't me trying to be obnoxious, like, and be mean. Like,
that's the thing. Is like, it's in the spirit of it, at least. Keeps morale high. I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I
became so disillusioned after I found out Leroy Jenkins was.
I was so mad when I found out that was fake. I was like, I still watch it randomly because it's funny, but I'm like,
it's still funny. But like now, I go into it going like, man, everything that they said about like when you're online playing and you meet these quirky characters that do the most insane stuff, and you'll have stories for years on end. Man, it's all just a marketing thing now. I know at this point.
Yeah.
I think that was one of my several disillusionments with entertainment and its genuine, feeling, so to speak. It's just like Leroy
Yeah.
Jenkins is even real, man.
I know. Because I could see people doing that. I would have done that had
Sure.
I had the guts to do it. Oh man, that would have been fun.
And I'm
But I
sure
think-
plenty of people did after the fact too. Like many
Yeah.
people
Oh,
were
yeah.
like, "I'll be the next Leroy Jenkins."
Oh yeah. 100%. Well,
We're just bitter,
What's that?
disillusioned adults now.
it's true. But as an adult, I had a lot of fun with Atlas. Playing with a bunch of other adults.
Yeah, we
being a pirate.
We still have our kicks. We still have our fun.
Yeah,
So.
for sure.
That's pretty cool.
Are you gonna go? Are you interested in the Insidious movie? I keep thinking about I want to go see it or not. I don't know.
I have never watched any of the Insidious movies. I've heard that like the first two are really solid.
I can vouch. The first one for sure. The second one, it doesn't lose me, but it's just like we're starting to get into like the trilogy. They're just trying to make money. You know what I mean? Like the first one was like, hey, we don't know if this is gonna be popular or not, so we have a very complete story.
I like Patrick Wilson and everything he's been in, and I like Rose Byrne, and I've heard that they're both really good in those movies, but I've never actually seen them. Not because I just haven't gotten around to them. Like they never interested me. I got into like The Conjuring for a while, and that's the same guy, like James Wan, right?
Yeah.
I got into The Conjuring for a while, and I was just like, okay, that's cool, I guess, but never got into Insidious.
Fair.
Maybe I'll give them a try. I'm sure.
Sure.
They're available somewhere for me to watch.
Yeah, I think HBO had them for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
HBO used to have a lot of stuff.
That's true. That is true.
Did you hear? I don't know if it's true. I doubt it's true, but like someone was like speculating that with the trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League or something getting removed or something like that, that like Zaslav is ready to like remove the Snyder cut off of HBO. I'm like,
man.
it's not. That's not, or we should call it Max, not HBO.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's probably not going to happen. But oh man, if it did, can you imagine all those angry ass fanboys like doing
where else are you going to see it? Yeah, I guess you could have bought the digital version.
There's a Blu-ray available.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
get your
funny.
physical media when it's affordable and if you really want it. So
Mm-hmm. What about Barbie? Are you a Barbie watcher?
I'm curious.
I hope it's good because that feels like that could be really, really a fun movie to go see if they do it right.
I do love the dichotomy of Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day.
Right? Isn't that wild?
That's where a majority of my engagement with the marketing about both those movies has been coming from. It's just like it's wild to me that that suddenly became a thing of like you'll have Barbie and you'll have Oppenheimer. Why not make it a double feature?
Yeah, what a fun double feature at the drive-in. Just like kids for the first hour or 2 hours are gonna watch Barbie, and then parents are gonna watch Nuclear War.
Yeah, it's like I did just get done with a 6-part series from. I listened to a podcast called Last Podcast on the Left. They're like,
I know those people.
Yeah, true crime and phenomena and stuff like that. They just had Patton Oswalt on this week's episode,
Nice.
but they had just gotten done doing a 6-part series on the Manhattan Project, like from its infancy stage to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and those are rough episodes, to the aftermath or the fallout, if you will, from those
anime.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, what?
It was some comedian made a joke that like after the bombs, like we got anime.
Oh man,
I'd have to find a joke, but I didn't make that up, by the way. That was not me.
I know it's meant as to be a joke, but that's probably not entirely inaccurate. Like, I'm sure anime and its style was greatly influenced by, the imagery of those bombings.
Yeah, how terrible it was. Yeah.
It's probably why a lot of anime, or especially like more mature anime, let's say, takes extremely dark, gory turns. Why they're so good at that.
I would imagine there's probably a good amount of interesting research to go into like what cultural fallout, right? Of like how did their media transition after that, right?
Well, we were mentioning, cultural fallout. We were mentioning this guy earlier, Godzilla. Like,
100%.
Total one-to-one. Like, Ishiro Honda had those images vividly in mind when he was making that first film.
Yeah.
So
terrible stuff.
Yeah, it's It is interesting how much catastrophic events inform our art.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, wasn't Captain America like just war propaganda for like the
Oh
first part
yeah,
of it? Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
a
It was
lot
just
of it is, right? But
at first he was just meant to be like, yeah, buy your war bonds and I'll
Mhm.
punch Hitler some more. And that was the thing is like he was that even before we got into the war, I think,
Oh yeah, yeah. I think
which
he was
is
trying to a sales pitch on the war itself, right?
cool and all. But I'm glad. But that's the thing too is like you take this thing that was initially meant for one specific purpose, and then you're able to repurpose it over time for other more altruistic things. Like Captain America has always been a good barometer of, or at least the people who write him have made him a good barometer for societal changes. Like he quit being Captain America when Watergate happened because he was like,
Oh yeah,
America
just
sucks now.
ashamed. Yeah,
Yeah,
being
he was ashamed of
it.
it. He was, allowing, or not allowing, but gave the blessing for his partner, the Falcon, to take over the role. It's like, you know what? This is a more contemporary Captain America. And he was just like, any of you who say he isn't, fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, there's a button push, but that's awesome. I agree. Totally. Oh, perfect.
There you go. I can just do it live for you.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah,
All right.
nah,
Cool.
it's fun
Anything
stuff.
got you exciting in pop culture, media, anything like that? You looking forward to?
In general, I mean, I very much just go with the flow at this point. Like, if something catches my attention, I'm like, well, I'll catch that at some point, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Or I'll catch up on that, or I'll read that, or watch that at some point. But I'm not like, foaming at the mouth waiting for anything in particular to land. I've
Sure.
just been kind of like, I got a job. I got to
Yeah.
focus on that. Try to keep cool.
Just be cool, man. Just be
Figure out
cool.
figure out why my blood vessels pop in my eyes in the middle of the night. I don't know if you
Are
can
you
see.
very angry, or do you get? I can't tell. Oh man, yeah, I can see. Yeah.
That happened like two
Are
nights
you
ago.
allergic to something? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I woke up. I woke up Thursday morning. Looked in the mirror. I'm just like, huh? Doesn't hurt.
Do you have
or
a
anything.
cat?
No. Nothing. It's
Oh,
just
it's
a pop. It's just a pop blood vessel in my eye, and I'm like, that's weird. I must have sneezed really hard at some point in the night. I don't know.
Imagine like sleeping on your face, just like.
It could be that. It could just be
Yeah.
pressure to the face. Maybe I slept wrong, but I don't know. It looks cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But apparently it's gonna turn like green and gray later on, like as it heals, and I'll be like, that won't
Less
be as
cool.
cool looking.
Yeah, less cool.
Less cool. More like there's something you got like a fungus or something in your eye.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you might be contagious.
But no, is there anything you're looking forward to?
I was looking forward to Oppenheimer. I really am. I think that whole era is very interesting to me. Just how important it is to kind of just world history. You know what I mean? That seemed like a cool thing to watch, and really, I've never even thought about the moral qualms with creating a bomb that is so destructive. Right? I didn't even think about it. It's almost there's a parallel to AI. Really, I mean, not as destructive. I hope. But like parallel in terms of like if America isn't on the forefront of yeah.
Well, there's like even a guy came out, I think it was like last month or so, in an article basically saying like I regret the part I played in developing a particular AI. Like
Sure.
I'm living it real time. Like I sincerely regret having been a part of this because now I see where it's going. And, yeah. But no, I'm sure Oppenheimer absolutely had that moment. I am become that. He didn't. I don't think he said that out loud, but I can't remember how the story goes. If he just internalized that and explained it to someone later on. But I am curious at the movie. Yeah, because I'm curious how subjective a lens Nolan's going to put on it.
Sure.
Just because I found Nolan to be a very, let's say, lays it all out there type of filmmaker, not just in terms of spectacle, but in terms of his storytelling, wherein what I mean is the characters will outright tell you their motivations.
So it's very overt. There's not very
it's very overt.
Yeah.
Like in the Dark Knight, Alfred outright says the Joker's motivation. Men want to watch the world will burn. The Joker says it all the time. He's like, I'm a dog chasing cars and so forth.
Sure.
It happens a lot in a lot of his other stuff too. Inception, because it's such a weird, abstract kind of idea or gimmick, all the characters are speaking in exposition dialogue for a majority of the film. It's still a good film, but they definitely don't sound like humans
Right. Yeah.
for the most part. So I'm really wondering what he's going to do with this, where it's a very historical film, historical account. I mean, he did 1917, but that was more the actions and the timetable and playing around with that. But here, where you have a character study essentially, and it's a real life figure, how much of it is gonna be like, well, Oppenheimer is going to explain to you 100% how he feels right now as he's.
Yeah, that won't. Yeah, I'd like some ambiguity. I would like.
Or is it? Yeah, or is it just gonna be Cillian Murphy just making this, which would be equally as compelling because Cillian Murphy's an awesome actor. He can just be like, but is he gonna have to literally be? Is he literally gonna say the line "I am become death"? And I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get really excited when Cillian Murphy's in a thing because usually it's good. I can usually trust that he's going to do a good. I know he's going to do a good job, but usually he picks good scripts and stuff.
Have you watched? I haven't seen it, but have you watched Peaky Blinders?
The first season, and I really liked it. I have to get back to it. A lot of other stuff came up, but like I do like it. I think it's great, and the fact that they've intermingled a lot of big name actors too, like Tom Hardy's in it. Like a lot of cool stuff.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Matt Damon.
Damon.
That's the other thing is the last podcast on the left guys were kind of saying like, yeah, we're curious to see it, but a lot of these actors, they don't look the part. Like Matt Damon doesn't look at all like the general he's supposed to like be representing in the film or something.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, at this point, I feel like in the industry we've kind of gone away from that for the most part, right? I mean, in terms of being accurate, in terms of the representation of the artist.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame too. That's what I'm hoping. What I'm secretly hoping for with Oppenheimer, whenever I do see it, is that it tries to be as unbiased as it can be, and just kind of present things hopefully as accurately as it can, while still allowing the actors to flex their stuff and allowing the writing to have moments of lucidity or
Sure.
But especially what I've noticed about like projects where people who were connected to the events have a heavy hand in how how they're produced and how they're made. Like, did that really happen? Or are you just painting a nice painting of it, essentially? Like, yeah.
Well, I think that's it. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. We've gone 50 minutes now, so I think we're good.
I wasn't time watching either way. I'm pretty happy with.
No, I'm just saying it's like I think we've covered a lot of ground, just the two of us.
Yeah. Well, have a good day, everybody. Yeah.
Keep on striking support to the entertainmentcommunity.org fund. So that way those people can at least get some kind of compensation right now.
For sure. Good call out, Mike, and see everybody.
Recycle your droids.
Nice.